Hey everyone, my name's Calvin, and in this video tutorial I'm going to show you how I paint this sort of mountain scene with pine trees. And if you just want to see the fast-forwarded version of this, there'll be a link to that video in the description, but this is going to be kind of a long tutorial, a fully narrated one where I just sort of go through my workflow and my process here. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up a blank watercolor texture artboard here. And if you're new to these videos, I'm using this watercolor for Procreate kit that comes with brushes and textures, and there's a link to that in the description of this video. So I've got a blank texture document open here, and I'm going to go to the layers panel and choose a top layer underneath the watercolor texture, but still a top layer. And I'm going to be using the bonus brushes, and these come with the watercolor for Procreate, but they won't be in the main folder. After you download that kit, there's a folder in that zip file that says extras and updates. Just go inside that folder, and that's where you'll find the aquarelle bonus set. So I'll scroll down to the bottom of those, and I'm going to grab the Auto Black 2B pencil. And it's called Auto Black because it doesn't matter what color you select up here, it's always going to be basically black. And I'm going to sketch out my scene here. And what I do when I plan a scene is I try to imagine every scene in 3 layers. So I'll just make a boundary here, a box, and then I'm going to make basically the mountain layer and the sky is going to be one scene, the very far background. And then here I'm going to do a line of pine trees, and then I have the middle ground here. It's this kind of almond shaped area, and then up here is where I'm going to have the foreground. So let's do a quick kind of a rough outline of what these mountains might look like. And I'm kind of wrapping them around this almond shape. Now I want to make sure I do all my watercolor underneath this sketch layer, so I'll select one of these down here. I think I'll do the bottom one, and I'm going to start with the sky first. So let's choose a kind of a bluish color, and I'll start with the rough mop brush. And I'll just quickly fill in this area. Okay, looks good. I want to throw in some darker shades in there. Just some random variation. Now I'll blend this with the blend brush. So I'll go to the bottom and grab the water blender. And let's choose pretty, maybe medium size like that. Okay, that looks pretty good. There's a lot going on, a lot of light and dark, a lot of these sort of shadowy areas and these white areas. I like the way that looks, so I'll move on to the mountains next. So I'll make a new layer on top of the sky layer, and I'll choose a little bit of a darker blue color here, because far away things tend to have a kind of a bluish hue, or at least they tend to have a similar hue as the sky. So we'll use the abstract round brush for this, the rough one. And I'm trying not to make the brush the same thickness. I'm going really thin, then I'll press harder and get a kind of a more blotchy style, and then a bit thinner again. I want to lighten it up. It ended up being too dark, so I'll select that whole mountain layer, go to hue, saturation, and brightness, and I'll just brighten it a little bit. And using the same dark color, I'll go over it again, but I want to add some kind of like mountain crevices. So I'll start really thin, and then I'll get heavier and heavier on my pressure as I work my way down, and then thin again. And this just creates a kind of, it looks like ridge lines and shadows cast by different peaks. It's not super technical. You can get kind of random with it, and it still looks fine. So that's pretty good. I'm going to blend it now with the water blender. Now I don't want to get rid of all those hard edges. I want to leave some of them. Now I'm going to pull the bottom of these mountains down, and I'm going to create a kind of a misty effect. So I'll pull them down like this, and then I'll pull them back up. Like when I'm doing this, I'm trying to imagine like mist. This is a valley, and mist is kind of rising from the valley. Okay, that's pretty good. I'll select a little smaller brush there, and I'll do some kind of, I guess, sort of misty tendrils here. Okay, that looks pretty good. I want to go over the edge of the mountain here and sort of make that a little bit less sharp. I think I'm going to create a color variation on the top of the mountain. So I'm using that freehand selection, and I'll feather it out. And just like the very top of the mountain, I want to see what it looks like if I lighten it. Okay, I'm happy with that. Let's see if we can adjust the color a little bit. Cool. And I'm going to do some random variation of color as well. So I've just selected some random areas here. I'll feather those out quite a bit. Go back to the hue, saturation, and brightness and see what happens if I sort of slide the hue a little bit. Okay, I like that. Now I think I'm ready to move on to the first line of trees. This is sort of the beginning of the middle ground. So we'll make a new layer on top. I'll choose a greenish color, but still kind of blue. So I'm going to use the quick pine brush. And this is a special brush. It's in the bonus set. So make sure you have the bonus set loaded. And I'm going to scale it pretty big, actually. Let's see what that looks like. That's pretty good. Double check that I'm on a different layer. And I'm just going to do a line of small trees. So I'm just swiping this kind of at a medium speed. I don't know if you heard that, but a jet flew right over my house. It was shaking my windows. Okay, so I'll just do these sort of medium speed strokes. The level of black in these is really low. I feel like it makes it look flat. So I'm going to add a few trees that are really dark. Now I'm going to go to, let's see, hue, saturation, and brightness. And I'll play with these a little bit to see if I can get some more contrast off the back of that mountain. Okay, I'm happy with that. Maybe I'll desaturate them a little bit, and I'll add some more mist to the back of the mountain. So let's go to the mountain layer, this one here. I'll use the freehand selection tool, and I'm just gonna go just above the line of trees. I'll feather that out, and then I'll go to hue, saturation, and brightness, and just sort of brighten that and see what we get here, okay? And usually when you raise the brightness, you have to lower the saturation, otherwise the colors get kind of shrill or oversaturated. But this looks good. And I always like to play with the hue just to see if we can throw in an interesting tone. Okay, that's good. Now I'll go back to the tree layer, and I'm going to blend the bottom of it. So I'll grab that water blender, medium size again, and I'm just going to work the bottom of it. And I'm going to grab the spidery blender, and what it does, I'll zoom in here and show you. It adds a really interesting kind of feathery blending thing going on there. I don't know if you can see that on the video clearly, but I don't overdo this. Just once in a while I'll use this just to give it a little more dimension. I want to create some mist in this middle ground, so I've still got that tree layer selected. I'll do a selection like this, sort of following my pencil line. I'll feather it out sort of medium there, and hue, saturation, and brightness. We'll brighten that, and again it gets a little bit shrill, so I'll lower the saturation. Okay, that's pretty good. And you see these kind of like weird round shapes? It's coming from my sky layer, the very background. So I'm going to blend that a little bit more. I'm going to create the final layer of trees, the foreground layer here. So I'll click on the this tree layer, make a new layer above it, grab a pretty dark green color, and I'll go back to that quick pine brush, and at a much larger size, and I'll start on the edge here, and just make some quick pine trees in the foreground area. And if you notice the brush is getting too, I don't know what to call it, too kind of spindly, you can make a tree like at an A shape like that. You don't have to do one tree in one stroke. And right away I can tell these are too dark. Like based on, you know, the overall color grading of this scene here, these don't really fit. So I'm going to go to hue, saturation, and brightness and lighten that. There, that's much better. And I'll add a few dark trees again, just a few of them to add some contrast. But if they're all dark, it sort of loses that illusion. And I'll do some random foliage kind of brush here. There we go. So even though this is only 3 layers: background, middle ground, foreground. In each layer, you can add some detail that does sort of blend it to the next layer and add sort of like a sub-layer to the scene. And it's looking a bit flat, so I'll add some sort of random color variation here. Brightness. Yeah, when you brighten it, it seems like in this scene, it makes it look kind of hazy or misty, and I really like that look. Okay, this is almost done. The final step I'm going to do here is I'll turn off that sketch layer, and I'm going to sort of blend the bottom of this painting here. So I'll grab my water blender. Okay, now I'll sort of square off the bottom with the eraser here. And now I'll grab the blender again and just tap the bottom to break up that sharp edge, but I'll leave some sharp edges. And as a final layer here, I'm going to do one more sort of layer of mist. So I'll select that, feather it out, and let's lighten it just a little bit there and lower the saturation. Now, just as a sort of a finishing touch, the sky ended up being kind of dark, so it's sort of like a night scene. So I'll go and click my sky layer and just make that a little bit darker towards the top. So I'll just do kind of an arc like this. And I'll go to the hue, saturation, and brightness, and we'll darken that quite a bit. I'll grab my blending brush again, the water blender, and we'll just break up that line just a little bit. Okay, so while the background layer is selected, I'll just grab the eraser, set it pretty small, and I'll just dot in some stars. Okay, that's pretty good. Now I'll create a layer on the very top here for the moon. So let's grab some white, maybe a little bit of a yellowy white actually, just a tiny bit yellow. I'll grab the abstract round brush, and I'll just do the moon here, I think is good. Okay, and then I'll grab the selection tool on freehand, and I'll sort of cut out the crescent moon shape like that. And I'll darken what I've selected until it has a similar level of contrast as the sky, but it'll still be a different color. And I think that's pretty much it. I'm really happy with this scene. I might add some sort of grunge in the front here, make a new layer, choose something dark blue. Let's grab the stippling dry round brush and a pretty large size, and we'll see what that looks like. It's kind of interesting. And I'll just clean up the edge of that with the eraser tool. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully this is a pretty clear narrated tutorial of how I paint this kind of mountain scene. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. But other than that, guys, thank you so much for your support, and I'll see you in the next video.